Hello, everybody. If you're watching this video, then you have probably shown some interest in either my blog on dreams and Jungian psychology, or you've signed up for notifications about upcoming Zoom seminars and workshops on the same topic. If you've come to me via YouTube, I don't know how you found me, but I'm glad you did. So this video title is called Dreams During a Cancer Diagnosis. So for anybody who's been paying attention to my blog, you've probably noticed I haven't been around, and that's why. So what happened was it's a combination of many things that have happened in the last 2 years that have kept me from really engaging my creative process. And it started with a vicious psychological attack on my character, and I had to defend myself against this. I mean, it was total defamation, and I was able to defend myself. Nothing came of it, but it took me into a very deep and dark place in my life, and I had to dig down into my own soul, and I had to work with all of the factors in my life that had constellated this experience with these people who attacked me. And I thought I was working on it because I knew that it was a constellation of a negative mother complex. And I'll go into what that means at some point. But I recognized the complex from her symptoms. And so I thought I was doing the work on this negative mother, and it was tearing me apart, really. It was the effect this attack had on me was bizarre, really. And I let it get to me, and I let it get to me bad. And during this time, I had a routine mammogram, which I almost canceled, but thankfully did not. Went in for the mammogram, and I saw on the man's face there was definitely something wrong. And a few weeks later, I find out there is something wrong, and I go to a breast center here in Switzerland, and they tell me you have a breast cancer, and it's called a ductal carcinoma in situ, and it's a high grade. It really progressed quickly from last year to this year. So there's the likelihood that you have an underlying invasive cancer, which would then require a mastectomy and chemotherapy. Now, this was all in the unknown at the time because they weren't going to know anything about what was happening until after my surgery. They take out that spot, and then they had to do a biopsy on the whole thing. So because of the timing in Switzerland, I had to wait about 3.5 weeks before I could have the surgery. So for 3.5 weeks, I sat with all of this information, not knowing what was going on in my body physically. Though again, I knew that the constellation of the whole thing was related to exactly what was happening in my life with this disturbing situation with these people. Not that I'm blaming them, because I'm not blaming them. This is called a constellating factor, and that's when the outer world and the inner world, bam, they clash, and something comes of that. And I knew the minute that doctor gave me that diagnosis, wow, this mother complex is no joke. And so I had to work from there. So I had 3 weeks to go deep. And during those 3 weeks, I had some recurring dreams. And here is finally my point. I want to share this deeply personal experience with you because it shows you exactly how dream work works, how analytical psychology works in your life. Okay, the recurring theme was I was walking into my house and it was a mess. Nothing was in place. There was trash everywhere. And every time I would find a dead animal, I would pick the animal up and I would hold it and say, "Oh my God, what's happened to you? What's happened?" And as I would hold this little dead body, it would start to move. And as it moved, I would give it water and food and caress it and pet it, and it would come back to life. So we have this theme of the body coming back to life repeatedly in my dreams. The last dream was the most profound, and that was again the same dream theme with the house and the animal, but this time an old friend came through with bags and bags of trash, and he was putting them everywhere, and he was in a daze. And I walked up to him and I said, hey, stop bringing this trash into my house, put it out. So without speaking, he turns around and he brings the trash outside. But I see in the center is this ginormous amethyst crystal cluster, like the size of a dining table big. And from there, I woke up. Okay, so we had the theme again of a dead, this time it was a kitten in that dream. And then this old friend of mine who showed up. Now, the thing about this old friend is that I knew him more than 30 years ago. I'm 57 now. I knew him when I was in my 20s. And sadly, I discovered a few years ago that he committed suicide. So the man was in so much pain that he killed himself over it. I don't know what was going on, but his soul was so beautiful. I loved him, even though I hadn't spoken to him in 30 years. So he comes back in the dream to deliver a message, so to speak. And he leaves behind the lysis of the situation, which means the result of the situation. And it's this huge amethyst crystal. Now, in alchemy, the crystal, which forms out of the process of suffering, is a main theme. It's called the suffering of the stone. Sometimes it's a lapis, but in my dream it was a crystal. And the crystal has a very important symbolic meaning in general, because it's a crystalline structure. It's a very hard, everlasting kind of structure. So it's symbolic of an eternal something in a human being. The fact that he left this there told me symbolically what you are experiencing in this entire process is the suffering of the stone. And what the rebirth of all of these animals means, symbolically speaking, is a sort of rebirth of the body. Ultimately, the message was pretty clear that the body was going to recover from this horrendous situation that I was experiencing. No matter what the path was, my body would recover. And the message from my dead friend was that my soul will also form out of this suffering experience if I approach it with the right attitude and with the right consciousness. Now, naturally, you have these kinds of dreams during a crisis, and there is always still that underlying, oh, is it really true? And as a dream analyst, I can see my clients when they're in these states of suffering, and I can know, I think you can trust this. I think you can trust this. But still, you know, we have to have some level of fear in these situations. Otherwise, we don't go through the actual suffering of the stone. So this whole process went on for about 14 to 18 months. So that's where I've been. But now I have been reborn, so to speak, and I am ready to come with these seminars and workshops and lectures and more content, and it's time to let it all go. So that's where I've been, and I hope to see you very soon at one of the workshops or webinars, and keep coming back to the site because I will start filling it with content again. Okay, take care.